they're going to be giving it their all in this race. We have UncleRonny with a 37 PB and King Joe with a 44 PB.
Yeah, so Ronnie is definitely going to be favored in this matchup, but we're both hoping for a good race here.
Yep. All right, looks like they're off. We have UncleRonny going through the prologue. So you see a lot of jumping going on in the prologue. That's because each jump saves about 2 frames, actually exactly 2 frames, excuse me, due to an inherent speed boost given to you by the jump. At the end of the prologue, we'll be given the dash mechanic, which is going to really kickstart this run. So this game is basically the quintessential, well, maybe not quintessential, but it is an extremely momentum-based platformer. So you provide your own momentum mostly with your dash, and you jump in order to conserve that momentum, because your momentum slows down less in the air than it does on the ground. So you'll see right away UncleRonny taking advantage of this in City. City gives you a little bit of everything. A little bit of, there are things called jump dashes, things called hyper dashes, in order to basically, like, given the layout of the level, each mechanic is necessary or better to use. Hyper dashes are sort of a lower, sort of faster mechanic to use, and we have jump dashes, which are a higher jump but shorter and not quite as fast. So you'll see some situational use of these mechanics.
Yeah, really nice thing too about all of these mechanics is they all do varying different things, but they're all centered around this idea that you're just going to be end up canceling out this dash with a jump. And then depending on which direction and sort of how you're positioned, you're going to get different effects. So a hyper, which allows us to get more horizontal speed and jump a little bit lower, whereas the dash jump is not going to get us as much horizontal speed, but will end up allowing us to jump a little higher. So because this level design is really intricate and really well suited towards these mechanics, it's going to be very important that our runners make clear-cut choices on every single screen of how they're positioning themselves initially, but what sort of dash cancel are they going to end up doing.
Absolutely true, yep. You'll see several other quirks to the mechanics. In the there are these little green crystals that you might have noticed. They refresh your dash when you touch them, which is important as well. You'll see something called, or I call them wall bounces, but they're technically called vertical hypers, where you dash upwards along a wall and jump off of it, and that gives you a lot of vertical speed, and you basically just bounce off the wall, hence the name wall bounce. But yeah, so there are a lot of different quirks to the mechanics of this game, and it's a really fun speed game to watch. So I hope you guys enjoy this race for sure.
Yeah, really interesting to note, Tej, even though Ronnie has a better PB, who's actually like struggling on some of the more difficult choke points on various levels and having to retry a lot of screens, whereas King Joe ended up taking a more slower, methodical approach, sticking closer to a lot of vanilla strats in some of the more difficult screens, and actually ended up getting out of the Lost City about 20 seconds ahead of his opponent. So maybe a little bit of nerves coming in here for Ronnie, but I'm sure he'll be able to recover and pull back his tech.
Maybe a little bit. And you'll see actually the only glitch of the run here on UncleRonny's side. So you'll see he skipped the cutscene on the y-axis that he needed to actually spawn inside the block. And the way that works is, so the y-axis is stored when you skip a cutscene, and so when you finish skipping that cutscene, you end up in that y-axis, and you actually end up spawning inside the block, which saves about a second or so. That's the only glitch you'll see in this entire run. So this is a pretty much glitchless speedrun. But yeah, you're totally right. I want to get back to the strats discussion.
Yeah, let's do it.
There's definitely something to be said about sticking to what you're comfortable with, especially in a game like this. And I'm a huge advocate of this as well. You'll see some of the top runners like going for like such aggressive, risky strats. But like I always say, and a lot of other people always say too, the best speed tech in this game is just not dying.
Right.
And it sounds kind of crude, but it's very true. So Yeah, sticking to what you're comfortable with, and maybe not pulling out some of the most advanced strats right away is definitely a good way to go about running this game.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible too, because a lot of sort of the mysticism with speedrunning is that, all these really intricate strats that like save this much time and save this much time, but in reality, especially in these race type scenarios, it's all about mitigating time loss. And if you're going to end up accruing a lot of time loss from having a lower probability to be able to pull out a screen and have to retry it, then that could end up bringing in a lead to an opponent who will just guarantee that they get through a certain screen each time, even if it's a little bit slower if both of them get it first try. But yeah, it looks like Ronnie's going to be finishing up with this chapter. It's a little foggy as to who is exactly ahead, because the way we end up timing these races is through in-game time instead of just overall real time. So in between these chapters, the timer is actually paused, and so Ronnie's just taking a little break, shake out his hands and wrists. I know he's been struggling with some wrist problems recently, and so just taking a little extra couple of seconds, which is not counted again.
I want to say that Kingj actually has about a 7-second lead right now, which may not appear that way on the stream, but if you look at the IGT, which is both on the top right corner and inside the cassette tapes on the stream layout, you'll see basically we just kind of have to like see where they are in relation to that IGT in order to gauge where they are. And it looks like Kingj started chapter 3 at 4:43. Whereas UncleRonny started about 4:50, so we'll keep an eye on that as the race goes on.
All right, and that's actually good for Ronnie. That means that he actually made up a little over 10 seconds through Chapter 2 alone. So definitely being able to get back on track and be able to get through these screens a little bit more consistently. Ooh, nice little sort of adaptation there. He had to improvise a little bit to be able to just take a step back and be like, nah, I can still make it through this room. And so that's really great to see, because even if some of these runners do go for more difficult strats, or how do you say, more difficult to do precisely, just being able to improvise in the moment and react on a 1/10 of a second, if not a few frames, is very, very important.
That's what I love to see, and I'll tell you why. Like, I always say that the top runners of this game are the top runners because of that ability to improvise, and because of that ability to save a potential death, because they can think on their feet, and that's just really good to see.
Yeah, it's like the best feeling ever when you just when things don't go to plan, and then you just pull out this clutch backup that doesn't lose any time. Oh, it's so good, man.
And the only way to be able to do that is just to play the game a ton.
Yeah.
As well, that's the thing, and that's how you can tell a player who's really experienced versus a player who might not be as experienced.
Yeah, ooh, just Ronnie getting a little caught in just a tiny bit of corner and getting whacked by Dust Bunny. No problem, just has to do the screen over again, but just barely missing that wave jump there, not quite getting the speed boost that he wanted from canceling out his dash with the jump, but here's the spike jump from Ronnie in the left. He gets it third try, so nicely done. That's actually a lot more difficult than it looks.
Very nice. I'll explain that. So basically, spike jumps, they are kind of a misnomer because you're not actually jumping off of the spikes. You're jumping off of the wall behind the spikes. And the way hitboxes work with spikes is if you're moving in the same direction as the spikes are pointing, the spikes essentially don't actually have a hitbox, and you can just move right through them. So we take advantage of the hitbox, of the natures of the hitbox of both the wall and the spike in order to jump off of that wall and basically skip all the platforming in that room.
Interesting. All right, and Ronnie having a really clean section there, making it to the next bubble. That was a really nice section from Ronnie, as well as Kingj making quick work as he moves on.
Yeah, Chapter 3 is all about cycles, as you might have noticed. So basically, you'll see a lot of the strats, especially in the first and the third sections of this huge mess section, which has the three sections that you can do in any order. So yeah, the cycles, you'll see the players maybe take on some different types of strats, maybe different level of intensity of strats in order to move about this section. There's no shame in playing things a little bit safer, but yeah, it's cool to see some of the cycles that these guys are going for.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And also a really important note is that after you die and respawn in a room, the cycle actually gets a little bit of time to be able to start moving around before you gain control of Madeline back again. So it can be very difficult if you make one single mistake to be able to progress through some of these rooms in Chapter 3. You can always reset some of them, like going into the previous screen and then going back, but that's just kind of like a waste of time. So being prepared to have multiple different ways to get through certain cycles is important. Like here, Ronnie just took a death, so he's going to have to adapt his method. But nice, he gets through.
Very nice, though. Yeah, UncleRonny actually displaying some very impressive movement through this elevator shaft section. For sure. Yeah, very nice. Being aggressive and playing cleanly. It's good to see.
Yeah, for sure. Ronnie has like a lot of other experience with speedrunning as well. He actually recently came in second in the competitive Oriel Skills Tournament in very close finals as well. So definitely showcasing his prowess, even though he hasn't been playing Celeste nearly as long. Just being able to sort of know what he wants to go for and adapt in those situations where he makes tiny mistakes. What a pleasure to watch. Nicely done, Ronnie.
Yeah, there are a ton of new Celeste runners, but neither of these players are new to speedrunning in general. So yeah, this is two just not only experienced Celeste players, but two experienced speedrunners in general.
Yeah, so we're gonna see King Joe on the right go for this difficult section as well. I like this, just like playing it slow and methodical and waiting out each one to just guarantee he gets through that room first try. Nicely done. Wow, whereas Ronnie just took a death in probably one of the longest rooms of the run, especially in this
This room is brutal. Yeah, this room is brutal. But it looks like he's handling the death cycle very well and is finishing up Resort. Very nicely done from Ronnie, and looks like he's taking back his lead in Resort. And Resort is definitely what runners like to call a filter level. It really Resort is really the first level, I believe, that separates it separates skill levels from runners for sure, because of those cycles and because it's a pretty big ramp up in difficulty from the first two chapters.
Yeah, for sure. And so, like, looking over on the left, we see Ronnie heading into the next area. Do you want to talk about some of the mechanics in here, Tej?
Sure, should finish my drink. I'm sorry. All right, so Chapter 4, we have a couple new mechanics. We have wind, we have bubbles, and we have clouds. So the wind is basically, as advertised, it pushes you. However, if you're dashing, the wind doesn't really affect you if you're dashing. The same goes for hyper dashing and dash canceling. So it shouldn't be affecting the runners that much should they continue to hyper dash and stuff. So bubbles, they basically act as an extra dash, essentially. Just think of them as an extra dash in any direction, one of 8 directions. And trampolines, well, the clouds are basically trampolines, and they're a little bit unintuitive to control, but once you get the hang of them, they are basically trampolines.
Right. Yeah, and so a nice thing, too, about these clouds is that we can actually get our dash back before, how do you say, landing on the next cloud or landing on the next ground. If you dash for long enough or you hit the ground at a certain portion of the dash. Oh, Ronnie, very close to nailing that trick. We're going to see if he can get it a second try. Then you can actually get your dash back, which was what he was trying to do. And
he goes super early on that extended.
Wow.
That's like, if you do that, there are a couple different shots you can do there, but that extended hyper dash method that Ronnie used, you can go pretty early, but that was pushing it a little bit, but he ends up getting a second try.
Yeah, as Tej was also like talking about right at the beginning of this race, you can actually preserve your momentum also by doing something known as bunny hopping, which is just hopping really shortly and quickly. Like I know you do a strat that involves bunny hopping in that room, right, Tej?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't mention this when I was mentioning hyper dashing and everything.
No.
But yeah, so basically what an extended hyper dash is there's also, like hypering and bunny hopping, which basically serves the same purpose, but you don't have as much room. If you don't have as much room, you do something called an extended hyper dash, which is there's a period between the time when you jump and the time when you preserve or get your dash back, where you can actually jump mid dash and get a hyper dash, but keep your dash in the air, and that's called an extended hyper dash. I believe it's a 5-frame window.
Yeah, that's correct.
Any time between 10 and 15 frames when you are dashing, you can jump and still get a hyper or a jump dash and maintain your momentum and maintain your dash in the air. So you'll see that mechanic used a lot throughout this run.
Yeah, it's a really cool way for us to get another dash before we have to retouch the ground for sure. And then also just like all of those applications that you were explaining to build more speed. And now, especially in this room, Ronnie having just very clear-cut movement to be able to get past these snowballs. This is really impressive to see.
Yeah, this is one of those sections where you'll see a huge you'll see a lot of different strats from a lot of different runners, and UncleRonny going for the wave dashes on top of the skinny little platforms there, which is pretty impressive to see, for sure. That's pretty technical to do, especially with the wind pushing you backwards so strongly.
Yeah, Ronnie opting to just retry the entire screen instead of trying to fall back into the bubble. As now, also on the right, Kingj is going to be entering a similar section that's going to be very, very difficult. Oh yeah, just opting it to take the auto scroller. That's good. I like that.
Yep, especially in Golden Ridge and the chapters to follow, there is nothing wrong with taking safe strats.
Oh yeah,
at these levels.
You know, we've mentioned this a few times, but I really do appreciate this style, especially for a race setting where he says, "I am going to get through these chapters at a consistent pace." And so it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to go for slightly faster strats, but also risk choking them and then just allowing me to get ahead.
Yeah, it's a strategy that says I'm gonna make you win. I'm not gonna lose this race myself.
Yeah,
it's a good strategy to take for a race for sure.
Yeah, and Ronnie is now in Mirror Temple, which has these bubbles, and they travel a little bit further. They just keep going until they either collide with the wall. Wow, nice skip there from Ronnie as I talk over that.
Yes. Yeah, so there are a couple different ways to do that skip. I think what UncleRonny did, I actually missed it. I was watching Kingj, but I think he wait a little bit for the platform to move up and then hyper across, or did he do a reverse?
Yeah, I think he either did a reverse or did a hyper. It was one of the two for sure.
Yeah, there are a couple different ways to do that, and it's pretty cool. Either way, whichever way you do that skip is pretty cool. You can skip a red bubble on the left side that is intended to be taken over to the right side to get that key.
Yeah, and over on the right-hand side of your screens, this is one of the more difficult things because the wind is so strong. These snowballs can be brutal, but wow, Kingj just made quick work of that section. Nicely done.
Who do you think is throwing the snowballs?
Oh man, well I would say Battlein, but I don't even think that she's that mean. It must be the old lady.
You don't think she's that mean? I don't know. She seems pretty mean. She seems mean enough to throw snowballs at you.
It's probably the Yeti. Let's be honest.
It's probably the Yeti. Yes, Vulsion. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, did Vul also say that? Oh my god. I don't have Twitch chat open.
Yes. Yeah, I have Twitch chat open.
Nice.
You pretty much said that at the same time.
Oh man. But yeah, Kingj making nice work there of Golden Ridge is going to be joining UncleRonny in Mirror Temple now, as Ronnie is going to be exchanging words with Battlein.
Yes.
Or maybe not. Just skipping all the words.
Yeah. Now just get back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this section is it's pretty much a make or break section of somebody's run. This section is, especially the last screen of Unraveling, is just extremely long. It's one of those screens that you just really don't want to die in, and one of the more popular places to die in that screen is at the very end. So it's not somewhere you want to die, but.
Yeah, and so here, key switches, which end up opening a door when you collect all of them. These Seekers here, which are one-hit KOs on Madeline, can both activate the keys, and then if they respawn, they have a short AoE explosion, which can also activate them. So we're going to see Ronnie manipulating these Seekers around to be able to do it.
And you'll notice that one of the mechanics that UncleRonny is actually taking really good advantage of is... I commentators curse that. I'm sorry. Okay, so UncleRonny taking advantage of the fact that Seekers can actually collect these lock switches for you. So yeah, you saw it in like the first 5 screens, pretty much like half the screens. But now it's basically up to him to just collect all of them. And yep, there we go. Okay, now we're through. Awesome.
Yeah, getting out of that is definitely like a sigh of relief from Ronnie. It was too bad he took a death like sort of near the end of the room the first time around, but just getting out of there is going to allow him to progress into a nice, really big sequence break actually here. He's going to be setting up reverse dash and then one more dash in order to be able to get over that. That skips just over a minute, which is really, really good.
Yeah, if you're learning this game, that is the skip you want to learn, like first and foremost, because that is far and away the most time-saving skip in this run, quote-unquote skip.
Yeah, it was really, really cool to see him grab that first try. Just like with the quick setup too. Like one of my favorite aspects is like speedrunning comes down, optimizations come down to the shortest time to set up the setup to the setup. And then you just sort of progress through, and Ronnie's just been very, very fluent with all of his actions so far. So that's been a pleasure to see. But now we're in the Theo Crystal section, right, Tej?
Yes, Theo Crystal section. So this part is pretty unique in the speedrun. It's a pretty momentous spot because you move so slowly, and you know, like the hardest parts to optimize are the parts where you actually move slower than normal. But basically, with the Theo section, you cannot dash while you're carrying Theo. I like the Theo spring strats there from Ronnie. Oh my! Wow!
Threw Theo in the wrong direction, and that ended up causing the door to close, and that took out Madeline.
Okay, Ronnie is probably not happy about that, but man, that was great to watch. Okay, okay, so as I was saying, so in order to actually do this part quickly, you have to hyper dash into Theo and then grab him in order to preserve momentum. So you'll see, taking advantage of that conservation of momentum while grabbing Theo. Yo, sit down, Seeker. Okay, so eyeball room. So you'll see UncleRonny now trying his best to. It kind of looks like he's going to be dashing through these waves, but he's actually just waiting until the waves hit him and then counteracting that backwards momentum with a dash. There we go.
Nice. Yeah, and Ronnie able to make it out of Mirror Temple. Maybe not the cleanest Mirror Temple. He had a few deaths like right at the end of some rooms that I'm sure he's like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. But he must be feeling really good with his mid-game performance so far, too. Like coming back out of that city.
Yeah, for sure. See UncleRonny again, taking a quick break between levels to rest his hands.
Yeah. And King Joe now on the Seeker section as well. He actually made it through some really hard screens with really, really good ease. And now we're going to see how he does also in this Theo Crystal section. Just leaving Theo behind, just going to activate the switch himself. I like this call.
That's an okay strat. It's actually not that much slower to do that, but it's definitely safer. Wow. Yeah, you'll see some. You'll see some. If things don't quite go right in these screens, these Seekers can be a pain, and seeing runners deal with them is pretty fun in this section, to say the least.
Yeah, look at this King Joe. Oh, it's waiting up, but jumps just a tad bit off, so the Seeker was able to get him. You can actually like jump off these Seekers' heads. Yeah, there it is.
Yep. There we go.
And that's really cool. It looks like he's actually practiced that AI manip before and like intentionally goes for it. So that was really cool,
definitely
to see that sort of meticulous planning as he dodges the Seeker again right at the last moment. Wow.
Yeah, so you mentioned AI manipulation. These Seekers might seem like they are RNG based. They actually are not at all. These are some close calls. So they actually are not RNG based at all.
Right.
Yeah. So they're based on the nuances of your movement. Like their movement is based entirely on your movement, and nothing else. No other factors. No luck based factors at all.
Wow, that's really cool, and that's like one of my favorite things about Celeste is that there's no Kingj0444! So close, man. But yeah, there's like no RNG really to speak of, and so that is really cool.
Ooh, utilizing the top of the switch there to jump on top. That's something I actually haven't seen before. That's a unique strat.
Oh, cool.
Meanwhile, we have UncleRonny in Chapter 6. The chapter full of just tiny little strats to save only a little bit of time each, but are fairly difficult. This chapter, in that case, can really separate elite runners from aspiring elite runners in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and it's cool too. In this section, you have various options of whether you want to do upper or lower route. And Ronnie went up, and down for the final one, and now it's just going to sort of ease back into a linear fashion for which screen he decides to go through. But yeah, nicely done. Kingj0444 also able to make it out of Chapter 5, and he is also going to be working his way into Reflection. Really just taking his death.
Unfortunate.
Oh yeah, not quite getting the angle off the bumpers. The angle that you sort of enter the bumper decides which direction you end up getting shot in.
Yeah,
Man.
and the death cycle for this room is like actually impossible. For the record, like it's it's so much harder than the if you don't quite make it through the first time. Yeah, the death cycle can eat you alive there. It can just like hit you off. Yeah, unfortunately there for Ronnie that was the case, but.
Wow. I love these little touches, right? Ronnie doing this reverse hyper to be able to hit the Kevin block in the air. And now he's going to be going for a bit of an intended sequence break where he's just going to cut through. Nice. He makes it through the difficult one and skips a checkpoint, which would have gotten him a little bit of safety, but just opts to do the fast strat.
So the first two shortcuts there have setups that make them pretty easy, but the last one there does not have a setup, and you have to actually like thread your way through the needle there.
All right, Ronnie's gonna build a bunch of speed here, and he makes it through.
There it is. Done. Nice.
I love that movement.
We call that the battle and boost. It's it's a pretty neat trick. That's the greatest speed I believe we actually build through the run.
Wow. Until we were in task stats for Reflection, right? I mean, not Reflection, but Old Sight. There we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Ronnie getting pinned under a falling block. Yeah.
So here we have the only real boss fight in the game. This battle and fight can be very technical. With these blocks are falling all over the place. You have to hit battle, and it essentially activates a cutscene every time you hit battle, and so it knocks you back in a certain direction, in a fixed direction every time. So it's not like it's random or anything. It can't be random, or else sometimes you'll jump into spikes or whatever. But yeah, this is a very interesting fight.
Yeah, it's so one of the more fascinating portions is sort of the recovery period after each time you hit Battling. It sends you up in a certain angle at a certain distance, and you don't actually gain control of Madeline immediately, your character. Instead, you sort of have to wait and then trying to reset yourself back up on a certain piece of ground. And that can vary whether you want to go directly down, whether you want to go to the left, where you want to go to the right. So very important that not only you have every single sort of screen memorized, but exactly how you want to end up setting yourself up for the next phase after you hit Battling once.
That was really nice there from Ronnie, actually taking advantage of a wall bounce to hit Battling right away after reverse hypering.
Wow, and also just like having like great knowledge of these cycles, as a lot of runners definitely do. But Ronnie just not very many mistakes here in the battle and boss fight so far. And the mistakes that he has made, he's been recovering from 99% of them without taking a death. So nicely done.
For sure. So now moving on to the second part of the battle and fight, which it gets significantly harder. Well, debatably, I guess. But the music gets really cool, so that's all that matters.
Oh yeah.
Gets glitchy.
I mean, that's why I take like intentional deaths in the section, right? It's because then you get to listen to more.
Yeah, you get to listen to more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason. If I die in battle, that's the reason. Definitely.
Yeah, totally. Alright, and now we're going to also see King Joe entering the Battle End boss fight section as well. So we're going to keep an eye on his movement as Ronnie is going to be progressing towards the end of the fight momentarily. Alright, one of the longest...
Yeah, this last screen can be really punishing, but UncleRonny pulls it off.
No problem.
Very, very nicely done. Yeah, that last screen is brutal.
Yeah, and Ronnie now leveling up, so he's going to have access to a second dash before he ends up landing on the ground. But more importantly, he actually has pink hair now, and that's the primary thing that he's excited about. It doesn't matter about the extra dash or anything.
This is officially no longer a low percent run. We have leveled up. This is now any percent. I was actually theorizing the other day, and now with this recent development that you can complete B-sides to unlock A-sides, now you can just do 6B instead of 6A and not level up, and you have yourself a low percent run.
Wait, is that actually possible? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It is, no. but it makes no sense, and it's just
or it makes all the sense.
Yeah.
All right, Ronnie heading into the final section, the longest section in the entire run, but he's going to be making his way up the summit.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, so the summit, what the summit is you're basically climbing up the mountain again after Chapter 6 knocks you off of the mountain at the start. So it's a culmination of everything you've learned so far. It's basically the final test of the game. So you have like here you have like basically the prologue section, I guess this is supposed to be, and then you move on to the city section, the old site section, the Chapter 3 section, so on, so on, so on. And it basically reintroduces the mechanics of those levels. It's pretty cool to see, and it's definitely the hardest part of the game for sure, hardest part of the run, I would say, and by far the longest chapter.
Yeah, for sure. And make sure you keep track of also how Ronnie is actually exiting screens as well, because how you enter and exit screens, like what do you do right before the transition zone is, also really can decide what you are actually capable of doing. So because momentum transfers through, and also sort of your height in which sort of dash cancel you end up doing before the transition, it can allow us some more flexibility with sequence breaking certain sort of puzzles or tech, if you will, that the game expects us to do.
Yes, definitely. I don't know if I even mentioned this earlier as well, but you mentioned momentum transferring through transitions. You also get your dash back on transitions, which is also really interesting and really helps the players out, especially in Summit.
Yeah, and now the reintroduction to Dream Blocks, probably one of my favorite mechanics. You can actually also jump out of Dream Blocks after they go ahead and refresh your dash as well. Ooh, nice save from Ronnie.
Great save there for Ronnie.
Yeah. And so jumping out can also get you a little bit of extra height or speed in certain sections, as Ronnie now is going to end up heading to a slightly more difficult area, but is a little bit quicker to get through. Yeah, nice, and skipping under that wall there is actually completely intentional by Ronnie, just because the extra double dash, and nice, just being able to skip through, carrying the momentum through.
Nice diagonal dash there from Ronnie. You can actually dash diagonally through those couple of Dream Blocks, because they are, like, at one point, for a couple of pixels, they are considered the same Dream Block. So you can just dash through them.
Yeah, and so also coming back here to this Chapter 3 reminder section, it actually involves some of the longer screens in the run. And so, oh yeah, like there, Ronnie just like took a death halfway through. And so this one that's like the length of like 2 to 3 to 4 screens, taking any death in here requires you both to take the death cycle, but then also just having to rework your way through and just get a little bit of that paranoia and nerves as you get closer to the end.
Yeah, deaths in these rooms in 1500 are so bad.
Yeah, and wow, nicely done from Ronnie in that one especially.
Yep, so we're through the hard part in 1500. Franker Z.
Franker Z. F. F for Franker Z, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, also
We
King Joe is also on to the summit as well, as he's going to be progressing through and almost entering 500 as Ronnie heads up to the next section.
Yep. So 2000 brings back everything you love about Golden Ridge and more.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, these screens are very akin to 1500, and that they're very long, and mess ups in these screens can be definitely extremely punishing.
Yeah, like in that backdraft win, Ronnie was trying to carry his momentum through the screen from a hyper and then actually just end up doing a wave dash. He just slightly missed the wave dash, so he ended up just having to repeat the screen over and do an alternate strat. So not just sort of like death cycles, but then also just really depicting like completely different strats. As Ronnie goes for a huge
he could have saved that. That's unfortunate.
So...
He had the first part perfect.
All right, is he going to do it again? He is the madman. All right, come on, Ronnie.
He just wasn't quite high enough for that first wall bounce, but yeah, that's he almost saved it too. He almost was able to dash back to the other wall, but
yeah, that was crazy, and that's like right at the end of the room too. But nice recovery from Ronnie to be able to just be like, "Nah, I've got this. I'm just going to go for it again."
Good intuition.
Yeah. But yeah, King Joe now onto the 1,000 meter section, just making quick work of this dream block sections. Ronnie taking a little bit of death on the left. Is just gonna have to redo part of this room again. No problem.
He somehow jumped underneath that block. That's interesting.
Whoa!
I wasn't sure that was possible.
Oh man, yeah, nice hyper there to be able to get under that wall.
Yep.
And oh my goodness, it is. I'm getting a huge thunderstorm here right now. I apologize.
Oh.
You can hear that?
Oh, I heard it. I didn't know it was thunder though. That's
oh yeah.
wow.
Yeah. But Ronnie now moving on to 2,500, I believe. I'm not very good at counting.
Yep, it's 2,500.
All right, nice.
Yep. So it's the Mirror Temple section. Reintroduces the moving platforms with dashes that I don't think we ever actually went over, by the way. So yeah, so these platforms move when you dash on a certain path. And now we're going to do something called key skip. You basically can skip the lower room here, where you're supposed to take a bubble up, and UncleRonny having a little bit of trouble with it right now, but he should be able to get it fine. These are actually just a couple of neutral wall jumps. There we go. And it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to the spike jump we mentioned in Chapter 3. Where you jump off the bottom of a wall, but you don't actually touch the spikes.
Right. Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah, nice room there. So, do you think he's going to go for door skip here, Tej?
I think he's definitely going to go for door skip. I don't know if he actually does, but I think he's going to. Yeah, he's definitely going for it.
Oh, he's going for it. Oh, no,
he decided to give it one try, and then, okay, that's respectable. It's totally respectable.
Is he going to get door skip? Yep, he gets door skip first.
There it is, the DSS.
Yeah, the DSS first
there
try. It is. Memes.
Door skip is, if you're confused, door skip is just a huge meme in the community. It's like, it saves 1 second to get. It's more of a for show thing than anything, but it does save time, so it has merit, but it's more of a meme than anything.
Yeah. And,
all right, so now we're approaching 3,000 for UncleRonny's side, and this is a mostly vertical section. So you'll see Ronnie, especially like right away, taking advantage of the wall bounce mechanic to give himself a vertical boost and maintain that vertical momentum. Yeah, and especially in this downdraft section here. So I mentioned in Chapter 4 that wind actually doesn't affect your dash momentum at all. The same holds true for your vertical hypers. So you'll see that a lot from UncleRonny.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and so... Oh my goodness. I'll be right back, Tej.
Wow, yeah, no problem. Hopefully, Covert can stay safe. Wow, that thunder sounded pretty bad. He's leaving me all alone. I can't believe this. Whatever. Okay, so we see Kingj actually opting not to go for the auto scroller skip in 2000, which is totally respectable. Meanwhile, we have UncleRonny in the updraft section here, so the game gives you a little bit of relief after pouring down on you with the downdrafts, and we see some updraft now, a little bit of relief.
Yeah, it's like they must have had this planned, right? It's just like they have a downdraft, and then they like increase the amount of height that you get in a normal zone, and then they just like bring you back down to normal afterwards. It's just like,
yeah.
Oh man, it's such a
jeez.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
You scared me when you came back. I was like, oh, he's back. Jeez.
Yeah.
Make an announcement. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The thunder can't keep me back. Getting some triple commentary in here. Yeah, anyways, wow, nicely done. Ronnie actually making it through one of the more difficult screens there. It's gonna be so brutal too, because it's one of the longer ones to reach that flag, and he just made quick work of it. So Ronnie coming out strong in the last couple of moments of his run.
Yeah, for sure. This 3000 has been very clean so far. Oh my god. Don't die, please.
No, that's fine. But yeah, Kingj also now entering into the Chapter 5 section he's going to be working through, and we're going to see if he ends up also going for door skip, or if he is going to attempt the ever so illustrious door skip.
In my professional opinion as a commentator, I would say there is approximately a 100% chance Kingj goes for door skip. Well, he's opting, although he's opting to take the lower bubble here instead of going for key skip, which is totally fine.
Yeah. I like that decision. It only ends up, I don't know exactly how much, but I think it's like only a couple seconds, right? Overall.
Yeah, I think it's like, okay, so with an optimal southern room, I don't know exactly how much, but it's got to be something like 5-6 seconds save.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's not that it's not incredibly important, but it is a time saver.
Word. All right, so time's going to be coming up for UncleRonny in the left-hand side of your screen, really momentarily.
Yep.
Walking away with the victory here with a current record of 4-2 for Ronnie. He's going to be heading out in this race with a 38-38. GG, Ronnie.
Yeah, and that essentially cements UncleRonny's place in the bracket stage, I believe, with 4 wins.
Yeah, because I think that takes him over the 50% split with the 8-man group stage. So very exciting run for Ronnie. Maybe some of the sections not quite where he wanted to, but he also still has one more group stage match. So I'm sure he's going to bring his full weight for that to try and see if he can improve his seeding as well as he heads into brackets.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kingj now entering the 3,000 meter section. We're going to see how well he's able to work through and what sort of route and strats he's going to decide to bring.
Oh, a little bit. Gonna wait for it. Oh no, nope. Maybe a little bit of impatience there. He could have waited for the crystal to respawn, but that's okay.
Yeah, and there he goes, taking a little bit more of a saber strat there, just like waiting for his dash to come back before approaching. And nice makes it up to flag number 27 as he is now in the downdraft section. So as Teach mentioned, just trying to dash upwards in order to keep his momentum in certain sections, as the downdraft doesn't quite affect that. Ooh, and skipping a flag here, Teach.
That's risky, but he's fine.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I almost commentators cursed again.
Yeah. You almost
God.
hit the spikes too. And when you dipped to the right, oh my goodness. All right.
We're fine now, though. We're fine.
Yeah.
Clear sailing now.
Yeah.
See if we can get UncleRonny in for an interview. He is in the setup channel. We're gonna bring him in.
Nice. Yeah,
and here we have UncleRonny is with us now. UncleRonny, GG on the win, man. Congratulations.
Oh, it's trouble. Oh yeah. my sound, but I heard you. Thanks.
Yo, GG, Ronnie. How you feeling after that match, man?
There were some. Well, the early game was so bad. But there were some good segments. I golded Resort and I golded Reflection.
Yo, nice.
Yeah, and 3000 apparently. With
Very
Oh,
nice.
that's
Nicely
awesome.
Flag
Did you
13
ever?
death.
What's? Oh, sorry. What was that?
With the flag 13 death. Never mind.
So you had 3 golds in this run?
Yeah.
Yo, that's awesome.
Wow.
That is no small feat at all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have a cat as well joining us for an interview.
Yeah, that's Yoshi.
Hi, Yoshi.
Yeah, so Ronnie, speaking about that, were you just like sort of a little bit nervous starting out in cities, or was it just like you just weren't able to get things just to sort of click in the beginning of your run? Because you recovered really well in your mid game. I thought your ult sight and your chapter 3 were pretty solid.
Oh yeah, I haven't been able to get much practice because of my arm pain.
Oh,
I guess I got warmed up after the first 2 chapters.
nice.
Yeah,
Alright.
we noticed you taking a little bit of a break between chapters, and Covert was mentioning before the run about your troubles with hand pain and arm pain. So, is there really any way to? And you mentioned that you really weren't able to practice as well. Is there really any way for you to to cope with that, or is that just something that you take a break when you experience?
Yeah, I'm just forced to take a lot of breaks, and like I can only do like 1 run a day, and
Wow.
I do a lot of
Yeah.
stretches and relaxations.
Yeah, stretching is definitely important with that, and I feel your pain there as well.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
pain is not that bad. It's manageable.
Yeah.
Yo, that's great, man. I'm glad you're able to deal with it, as now King Joe is finishing up. Not quite the race that he may have wanted coming into this, but definitely a great performance overall, as that is also going to be his last match for the group stage. But speaking of which, it looks like we have King Joe joining us in here as well. King Joe, GG, man.
Hey, thanks. I PB.
You
I
did?
noticed.
Wow!
Yeah, I actually
That's
was
crazy.
just looking that up. I was like, wait, 43, 16. I think that's actually
That's a
PB.
PB by 40 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, dude.
Thanks. I had the worst golden ridge of all time, but the rest was good, so.
It's okay. You finished out pretty strong, so
Yeah,
that's, there's something to be said about that.
yeah. I came into this tournament with a 53, and I'm leaving with a 43, so 10-minute improvement in this tournament. I'm happy with that.
Wow,
It's
congratulations, man.
It's incredible the amount of people who've PB'd from the tournament and just like are in the tournament even. It's really cool to see. See a lot of hard work put in for a lot of players in this tournament.
Yeah, that was my second time PBing in a match. I PB'd in my first match and then this one, so.
GG, dude.
Wow, that's incredible, King Joe. So, sort of in retrospect, this was your last match of the tournament. Do you have any plans? Are you going to try and push for like a lower PB, maybe for a sub 40? Or are you thinking of picking up any other categories for Celeste?
I already run all hearts, and I run this. So I'm running this for a marathon coming up. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's called Vinathon, and I'm gonna be running Celeste for that. So I'm probably gonna be continuing lowering my PB for that. So hopefully I can put on a good show for that.
Nice.
Thank you so much for representing the community, man.
Yeah, no problem. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so sort of going off of this question, throwing it back to you, Ronnie.
Wow. Don't
sorry, I
die,
did
please.
Some really
Oh my
heavy
God.
lightning and thunderstorms. They're really close to us, so I might lose power. But
Wow.
Ronnie,
Oh.
quick question before we get into lose power. You still have one more match in group stage, so if you pull out a win here, you're looking to catch a higher seed in bracket. How is your mentality like going to bracket phase? I know we talked a bit about your tournament performance in Ori, and so are you using some of that experience to power you through into brackets?
Yeah, I noticed that I perform better in races. It was also apparent in the Ori tournament. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to brackets. There's not really anything different that I'm gonna do in my runs,
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah, so probably just like do a run a day, right, or something like that. Are you pushing for like a certain goal time for your PB before brackets?
I mean, 35 would be nice, like the ultimate goal for me right now. But yeah, it's not really that much of a huge goal.
Yeah, I
Nice.
always find there are always those select few runners that perform better in races in that competition setting, and it says a lot about the runners, their mentalities, you know, like going into it.
Yeah, for sure. But it looks like we're starting to run out of time here. Tej, any final words before we close out here?
Thank you to the runners, UncleRonny, King Joe, GG on the PB, King Joe, GG on the win, UncleRonny. Thank you to Speed Gaming staff. Thank you to the staff of the tournament. Besides myself, who put in the real work here. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you, Covert, for being my co-commentator today and for being a great guy in general.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you so much, Tej, for joining me on commentary. GG to the runners. Guys, we have so much exciting Celeste Any tournament action. Tonight, we actually have another match at 11 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be showcasing AK Biggs versus Zion 97, and that's going to be over on Speed Gaming 2. And I believe we're going to have the epic commentary of TGH joining us again. But
you guys are stuck with me again.
But yeah, from everybody here at the Celeste tournament, I hope you guys have a great night and enjoy the rest of the action. Good night, guys.